The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great. Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
No matter what he says, no matter how negative he can be, the season, the 2025 season, is not officially over. It's just not. No matter where the show was trending this past Friday. We welcome you in, everybody. Off the Bench, off and rolling here on a Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. We're kicking off the show with a couple announcements, with a little bit of a different look, a little bit of a different vibe, of course. We're going to introduce to you our new intern coming up here shortly. Jacob is out. Not for long, though, just for the day. We'll be back tomorrow. But sitting in his chair, at least for the opening of the show, Mr. Trace Fowler, everybody. Mr. Trace Fowler.
Oh. Hey. Oh.
Thank you.
An appearance from the boss.
What a blessing to be on this show once more. You know, there was nothing that got me more fired up in the mornings than when I was hosting Off the Bench. And I was thinking, you know, after talking Reds for an hour last night, let's get up and talk 2 more hours of it because I have so much content I'd like to do on a daily basis. But here we are. You guys got
2 hours of Will Benson, does it get you juiced?
Well, that might.
It might.
That might, yeah. In fact, he saved the season, some are saying. Not me, of course, but some are saying. Yeah, it's just great to be here. I'll let you guys get through the rituals here, and then obviously we have some announcements that are going to be made here on the Chatterbox platform. I don't know if you guys still are doing headlines at the front of the show. You tell me, I guess,
Well,
is where
I think
we're at.
since you're here, we're probably going to do headlines of segment 2. I'd imagine that's how this is going to go.
Yeah, we're going to push it back, yeah.
Yeah, I will say Justin
Okay.
texted us this weekend. I guess he was having a party at his house he didn't invite us to.
Oh, that's
But
nice of him.
He was having a nice party, and he sends out the picture of his back deck. It's a beautiful back deck.
It is?
And he sends me a picture, and it's I'm not kidding, and I said I wasn't going to do it, but I have to do it. And
This
I hope
is like
you
the
can
no
understand.
offense, but no matter what you say
Yeah.
after, it's going to be offensive.
He brought
Got
the
it.
world's smallest TV monitor to go watch the Reds game, and I'm talking like it was about 5 inches bigger than this phone for his guests to look at outside. One of the smallest TVs. I didn't think they made a TV that small, but you found it and you got it.
So, yes, we had people over. We were celebrating my wife's birthday. We were having a great time. Someone said, I wonder what the Reds score is. So I'm like, well, I could tell you, or we could watch the game. So I just went and got a TV from one of our spare rooms, and I plugged it in outside. I was celebrating the fact that the Reds just swept the damn Guardians, as I predicted on Friday. And instead of you being, oh, yeah, things are great. Oh, it's a small TV, dude. And now the whole chat just made fun of my small TV.
You got a small TV, man.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's all right. I mean, we all have small TVs. It's just not the main TV when you have guests over.
If you zoom in, though.
I had texted him. I had to zoom in 3 times to get a good look at that TV.
Do we have a picture of this?
I mean, I have it. It's. We'll see if I can find it in time.
Yeah.
I'll-
Well, I mean,
I'll
you don't
put
have to
it up
send it to the show right now. I just need to get I would like to figure out whether or not this TV is
So,
malpractice.
we have
Is it
the-
malpractice? Like you shouldn't even have pulled it out in
We
the
had
first place?
renovations done to the backyard, so the deck was just, or not the deck's been in, but we got a big back patio put in. We got a projector for it. We just haven't put the projector screen in yet. So, yes, we had to settle for the. Okay, enough. Like, listen, we don't need
We'll
to
put it
get
on the
off
show.
to a bad start.
All right, so
Like-
we're going to put it on the show. We're going
Yes,
to put it on the show.
Yeah.
We're going to put it
It's
on the show.
okay. It's not. Listen, it's okay. I'm not like no. It's not a big deal. I'm gonna send it via Twitter DMs, Casey,
Yeah, that's fine.
and it's sent.
While he does that, you want to introduce our intern?
Trace, do you want to introduce
Sure.
her? I know her name. Her name is Pearl. Hi, Pearl. I do know your name, but I want Trace to introduce you. So there
Yeah,
you
so
go.
obviously the summer is a little unique at Chatterbox. We have folks that reach out from time to time that are looking to get some experience and doing some things. And, ultimately every summer, as we have in the past, we usually take kind of a couple interns on. And oddly enough, this summer, it seems like we have more interns than actually employees at this place because we went from having maybe 1 or 2 people helping us. Well, when you start adding employees, they each of them maybe bring their own. It's like instead of bring your own beverage, it's bring your own intern this
Yeah,
summer.
yeah, that's right.
So we have like what seems like 8 interns now, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, more the better, as some would say. But Elliot is going to be doing some content this summer with myself, and he's not going to be in the office as much. So we were going to try to find some people that could help replace Elliot, even though he's irreplaceable. It's the nicest thing I can say about you, by the way.
Thank you.
So yeah, we have Pearl. Pearl came from Oxford. She went to Talawanda, and ultimately, I think she sent an email, and we met. She said she liked the Reds. That was a plus. But as I was telling her before the show, it seems like everyone that we've actually hired here are the teams that I hate that they like. So
I was going to say, new company policy. We should start hiring people that actually like the teams that we talk about.
Right.
Not a Browns fan to host off the bench.
Well, Kenner, I wouldn't be talking too much because ultimately every day I get DMs and messages and things, and basically it's all caps. It says fire Kenner. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a policy we should
if you
state.
block Mouse Cop, those might stop coming in as
I was gonna
aggressively.
say, I would say there's about a 3-person window on that one. But yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, yeah, teach their own.
But anyway, this is Pearl. Welcome to the show, Pearl.
Thank you.
I know you're super nervous, and you were like very, very. She has like 5 pages of notes. I haven't done 5 pages of notes on the show, and I've hosted it for more than like basically 4 months at a time at one point. So Pearl, welcome in.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So I'm sure she'll chime in a little bit more as she gets comfortable, but she likes the Reds. What other teams do you like, Pearl?
I'm a big Cincy sports girl.
All right.
And
so
I mean,
Bengals.
and I'm Miami alum, so I root for the Red Hawks.
There you go. They've actually been all right.
They have been.
Most times you can make fun of the Red Hawks and say, well, their sports don't matter. That's not really the case anymore.
I know.
They're relevant.
I mean, I would say they beat UC once.
What are you saying? You're saying they're not?
They beat UC. I said they beat UC once. They beat UC in football.
What's that supposed to mean, Elliot?
Once.
What?
What's that supposed to mean? That's easy.
The question is, can they beat the White Sox and can they beat the Nationals? That's really how he tests greatness, to be honest.
This
I mean,
is true.
it's like-
There's nothing worse than walking in here.
Are we laughing at that? You're laughing at that?
it's just
Let
an
me ask you
observation.
this. Do you think you should beat the Marlins and the White Sox and the Nationals? Do you think
Yes.
you should do that? Okay.
Yes.
I'm happy they beat
Do
the
you think that
Guardians.
a team that loses to those teams, do you think that they should beat a team like the Guardians? Do you think that they should sweep them?
No.
But did they?
They sure did.
So shouldn't we focus on that?
But I also said that was going to happen at various points. They're going to go on 5-game winning streaks, 6-game winning streaks. But then they're not going to be able to beat anybody. So, I mean, we can be positive. That's what we'll be today. We'll be fake positive.
See, I'm going to raise hell. I'm going to argue with them, and then
I
they're going to drop
really,
2 or 3
I
to
tell
the
you
Pirates.
what, Elliot is a guy that needs to be able to get outside. We need to get him outside on a day like today. It's gonna be like one of the top 10 days of the year.
Listen,
you have my permission. You have my permission. When this show's over, you can go take a long walk, enjoy the sun, check out the flowers when you're walking by the sidewalk, look at the trees, look at all the life. Be blessed to be alive, because whatever it is that you have dead inside of you needs to get let out. This is not good.
Unleash the
Largely
beast.
because you have a guy like Will Benson came in here like a superhero. And ultimately you just willed this team to win.
Yeah, I'm glad they waited as long as they did, because God forbid we had some help when we played the Marlins and the Nationals and the White Sox. God forbid we ran out Hurtubise and Blake Dunn every single game. But listen, I'm happy they figured it out. It only took them, as you guys said, May 19th. May 19th. Good.
We did a buy or
0-0.
sell on
Season
Friday.
starts today.
Would the Reds even get back to 500? And here we are, 3 measly
I bought
days
that.
later.
I bought that. I said they'd get back to 500.
You did. Technically,
I said I said they'd sweep the Dodgers, they'd sweep the Yankees, and then they'd continue to lose to the Marlins and the White Sox and the Nationals.
So close to positivity.
And every other bad team in this league. But I'm ready to roll.
I know that we do the radio thing. How much more time we have left on this
We got
radio
about 5
segment?
minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, plenty of time. So here's the
Oh,
plan.
you follow the clock still. That's interesting. We gave that up a long time ago. But yeah.
Well, I figured as a radio guy, you might want to follow the clock.
would
but
think.
Maybe you don't. I don't
You
know.
would think.
The internet, we definitely never considered the clock until the clock became a thing with the radio. So you brought the clock into
Clock
the show.
management's not my skill set.
You brought the clock into the show. As a Browns fan, that's very much probably a very good thing when you don't manage clocks. You don't need to manage clocks when you're the Browns. You're always losing. That's positive. So here's the thing. This show obviously started
3
out.
minutes.
Yeah, sorry for the dig. I had to go there. This show started out basically underneath the wing of Tom Brenneman. It became pretty apparent that he wanted to try to do something different in his career. He had never done sports talk. Wanted to do sports talk, so we said, all right, well, what does that look like? Quite literally, this show was formed all around him, and he wanted to do a daily show, so we created an opportunity to do a daily show. Brought on Casey, and then ultimately after that, it kind of blossomed, and you had the different folks that sat in these chairs, and then ultimately Elliot was kind of a part of that show as it was concluding. Tom then got an opportunity to start calling some games at the CW. and things started to look a little bit different. And then obviously he got an opportunity down at 700 to where kind of his opportunities to do stuff with us have diminished. And by the way, like some people have asked, how's the Tom thing? Tom was great. Tom was great for us, our organization. I wish Tom the best. There's no ill will towards Tom. In fact, Tom would be welcome to hang out here or come back at any time, at any moment. And I would suspect he would say the same. But what I want to get into is ultimately kind of the transition that we went from what that show was then to what it is now. And to be quite frank with you, when you run a business, it becomes tough to try to delegate and try to find opportunities to go and do certain things that you think could propel your company to somewhere where you ultimately want it to go. And how do you keep up things that you were doing in the past? Some of this is on me. I need to find some sponsors for this show, to be completely frank. We've been working on that. We've gotten close. But to be frank with you, there's a lot of resources that go into the show. You could probably on a daily basis look in here and say, okay, they have 3 full-time people, 4 full-time people on a daily basis that are basically doing a show from 10 to noon, 1 to 3 on ESPN 1410. But point is that it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of energy to do this show. And it stops us from being able to go out and be what I would call an internet company. I didn't start Chatterbox to try to be the next 700, to be clear. That's not who we are. We're not a radio station. There's nothing against radio stations, but ultimately Chatterbox Sports is goal is to try to be a content creation platform for the fans of Cincinnati mostly, and then on top of that, just be personalities that you would enjoy watching or enjoying things that we go out and do. We've not done a good job of that, mostly over the past, what I would call year and a half, largely because the mass majority of our resources get put into this daily show. So then you'd have to ask yourself as a business, well, how much revenue is that bringing you in? And to be quite frank with you, not to get into the weeds of all this, it doesn't do much. And that's not to be a negative thing. The issue is this. All of you that watch are so loyal to what we've built since we started, it is impossible to cancel the show. And if you have been inside these walls or you've seen the email chains, there have been many times where I myself personally have tried to get rid of this thing. I've tried to say, you know what? We're not doing this anymore. We don't make any money. We lose you want me to be honest with you, we lose probably anywhere between $30,000 to $40,000 a year doing the show as its current state. Now, someone would say, Trace, you need to do a better job of selling. Maybe I do. I probably do. But my point in saying all this is to say to you, my goal this summer is to try to start creating different content, and on top of that, try to make it very enticing or, as a member, very lucrative to want to be a member. So my goal is to do 2 things. 1, find sponsorship for the show. So from a cost standpoint, it remains free. The goal never with this show was to bait and switch and try to get a bunch of people to watch and then turn around and tell them all to pay. That's not the case. To be honest, I don't know. It becomes tough to try to manage this because I don't really want to lose what I would call one of the mainstays of who we are. But on the other hand, you can't continue to lose money, and continue to do something over and over again and think you're going to get different results. So from here moving forward, this summer, there will be some musical chairs at times. Don't be alarmed. The goal is to create more content that might ultimately drive some revenue in different areas, and then ultimately find some sponsorships that can keep this the same. Worst case scenario, someone's like, well, they're going to chance. What happens if he doesn't find a sponsor? They cancel the show. Worst case scenario, I've basically put in my mind that we will rob Peter, which is the other companies that I own, to pay Paul to keep the show alive for at minimum an hour. So at the very worst, starting in the fall, there's a chance that we go an hour live and the second hour is members only. And it doesn't mean that I'm trying to do it because we're cash hungry and we want to make as much money as we can. It's quite literally just so we can justify continuing to put this much money towards a show that doesn't make us any money. Now, we could do a better job. We could probably have campaigns. Hell, we could probably do a call-a-thon for some reason. You know how they do it for children's hospitals? We could do it for Elliot's job, That's possible. Maybe we can keep things alive that way. But jokes aside, I would just say this. that's where we're at. That's the variables that I'm dealing with currently. And as far as selling, we have some positive momentum there as well. So, truth be told, if you never watched this episode, you tune back in the fall, things could look the same as they always have. But the truth is that we're trying to fight through some things right now that we've never really had before, because the relationship that we had with Tom in this show was vastly different. So transition's tough. Sometimes the waters aren't always perfect. Chatterbox isn't going anywhere. But having said that, that's kind of the state of the program, if you will, with this show. So, to be clear, very clear, because I feel like when I do this, there's always people that are going to be immediately on the chat. Oh, the show's canceled tomorrow. Nope, show's not canceled. Show's not really going anywhere at all, to be honest with you. As we progress through the summer, we'll start to make moves and try to figure out where this show goes. But I'll just say on the front end, regardless of what happens, I do very much appreciate all the people that loyally watch this show. I very much appreciate all the people that loyally engage in the Discord. Like, people probably think that I'm joking when I say this. The radio stations can say, like, oh, and I'm talking these massive radio stations can say, oh, we have our fans and we're all a family. Like, not like what we have. I mean, we have something that is very grassroots. You don't find what we do personally in that many other cities throughout the country. Trust me, there's been nights where I've thought, if we started Chatterbox in a city that had championships that were won every so often and was a massive market, we probably would be, a very large company. But we're not. And you can't fake fandom. So we live in Cincinnati. We cheer for Cincinnati sports teams, and I'd like to keep Chatterbox very Cincinnati-based instead of going out and trying to do clickbait things that are for, national headlines and try to make money through YouTube that way. I don't do it. I won't do it because that's not why I'm passionate about doing what we do here. So hopefully you understand as we progress through the summer that it's not going to be this exact same look of the show each and every single day. If you love Elliot, I'm sorry, I'm stealing him for a little bit. If you love Jacob, I'm sorry, I'm stealing him for a little bit at times. And then obviously Casey has responsibilities throughout the summer. Kenner has to take vacation every so often. So it'll be a little bit like musical chairs, but the goal very much is the same, is to try to bring authentic content to you that we all love and we can all laugh about and have fun and realize sports is really probably not that serious, but damn it, we're going to try to make it seem like it for a couple hours a day. So that's what I got. Kenner, I'm sure I went over there, so best of luck to your radio station and how you want to clip that out.
No, let's make fun of my tiny TV.
Yeah, the tiny TV right here. Look at that.
Oh, my gosh, Kenner.
First of all, it's
telling
not
me
like that's a
that's not an
TV
iPad.
that is normally there. It was just a TV I went to grab out of a spare room just to
Yeah,
put
you
the
got to
game
zoom
on.
in.
Yeah, I
mean,
gotta
you can't-
zoom in a little bit because it's hard to see.
I mean, no
Casey.
free ads, but see that bush light in the bottom left of your screen there? That's one half of that TV.
Oh, no.
It was a bad day to be
You know what
Busch
I would
Light.
say, Kenner?
I can see it was a bad day to be a bush light. God, I hope you had a cleaning crew.
I was the cleaning crew.
Yeah, I bet.
This is like when you come home for Valentine's Day or maybe an anniversary and your gift is pretty subpar and somebody then brings up, it's the thought that counts. That display of what we would call a television in the backyard for your guests, it was the thought that
But
counts.
it's not normally there. It was just to put the game on just briefly in the background.
I'm
We were
just
playing
saying it was the
Beersby.
thought that counts. It was the
we were
thought
playing
that counts.
Beersby. We're playing,
Right. No, I get it. I'm saying it's the thought that counts. It was a very good idea. It was a good, genuine, hearted effort by you. But the fact of the matter is,
gonna
unless
get the
you're laying,
biggest outside
unless you're
TV.
laying in the fire and you're sitting right on top of the TV, you probably can't see the score.
I'm going to get the biggest TV in the world. TV will be bigger than the house just to appease this guy over here. So there you go. All right, we'll step away for a few moments. Trace, thank you for coming in. And we'll have more off the bench, maybe. Maybe we'll have more off the
No,
bench.
don't do that because you're going to have a lot of comments. Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
More off the bench when we come back. All right, and we welcome you back off the bench. We are off and rolling here on a Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. We are obviously on radio, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton, but for those watching on the live stream on Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, of course, we appreciate all of our current members, all of our current viewers, but new members, including Big Art. Big Art is a brand new member, correct?
That's right.
He just
jumped
joined.
Just joined. He says, even Kinner brings him joy watching this show.
Wow.
So you did a good thing here.
Nice. That is Big Art is not. That's not my account. I did not create that. I did not. That's a real person. Big Art. Shout out to Big Art. Thank you. We appreciate you tuning in. Shout out to Pearl again. She was just introduced in segment number 1. She'll be part of the show throughout the week, throughout the summer. We appreciate her joining the show as well. So Pearl, thank you.
Of course.
So again, we told her she has to interrupt.
Yep.
She has to let her
Be
voice
rude.
be
You
heard.
have to be rude.
Yes.
I gotcha.
You have to be rude
Not a
and make fun
problem.
of us. That's the only stipulation when you join this show.
I mean, we were talking earlier, and she is over positive, very optimistic, and we need a little of that positivity
Yes.
for the Reds.
Gotcha.
So
Hey, the sun's shining, the birds are chirping, and we just
Look at
got a
this.
sweep.
Look at this.
Pearl, was Casey done talking?
Hey. Hey, but I was talking.
She said, I was talking. All right, good start. All right, before we get into the Reds sweeping the Guardians over the weekend, we have a ton to get into there. We'll kick off the show. Well, we'll kick off segment number 2 with our guy Elliot, who's a little lonely over there. You lonely over there?
I do feel lonely. I got just
No
got the
Jacob?
helmet. The helmet with the bruises that you threw against the wall earlier on, and then I got this one.
Yeah, you joined the show at a good time.
I think Trace left his sunglasses in here. I imagine he's going to come back in here at some point and get those. So, yeah, I am lonely.
Nonetheless. All right, well, with that being said, it's now time for Elliot's Headlines, ladies and gentlemen. Elliot's Headlines.
Score updates, breaking news, local and national headlines. Whatever's going on in the world of sports, Elliot has you covered. Off the Bench brings you Elliot's Headlines.
Boom. There it is. I wish Jacob was here with his loud whistle. I don't know where he is. I don't know where he took that. So, I would have blown it. I would have blown it today. I don't know where he has it. It's somewhere hidden over there. But Elliot's Headlines. Reds sweep the Guardians. They win 3-1 yesterday. Andrew Abbott, 5 innings. He allowed 4 hits, struck out 5. Good outing for Andrew Abbott. Pagan escapes the 9th inning with the save. The Reds back to 500. They are 24-24. And as everybody's mentioned today, the season's just begun. Back to 500. They're 0-0. First game of the season starts tonight against the Pirates. And tonight against the Pirates, 6:40, Nick Lodolo versus Mitch Keller. Mitch Keller 1-5 on the year. Nick Lodolo, 3.42 ERA. The Yankees, outside of the Reds, they crushed the Mets 8-2 in the Subway Series finale. Bellinger 6 RBIs in yesterday's game. The Angels beat the Dodgers 6-4 and sweep them this weekend. The Rockies get shut out by the Diamondbacks. They are 8-38. 8-38. Almost difficult to do to be 8-38, but the Reds handed them 3 losses in a row, so we're a part of that. 8-38. The Giants, they beat the Athletics 3-2. The Cubs, they outscored the White Sox 26-8 and sweep the South Side of Chicago. It would be nice to sweep the White Sox, but I'm glad the Cubs were able to figure that one out. I don't even know if that one was I don't know if that was at home or on the road. Either way, they sweep them. The Cardinals, they lose to the Royals 2-1. Brewers, they win 5-2. Marlins 5-1 over the Rays. Cal Quantrill pitches Major League Baseball's first immaculate inning. The immaculate inning, obviously, 3 pitches, so good for him. The Blue Jays, they lose to the Tigers 3-2. The Nationals win 10-4 over the Orioles to sweep the Orioles, and the Orioles have now lost 6 in a row. They are 15-30 on the season. Yikes. The Blue Jays, they lose to the Tigers 3-2. The Nationals, they win 10-4. Or excuse me. The Phillies shut out the Pirates 1-0. Sweep them. Pirates are 15-32. But Phillies, I believe closer, or if not, relief pitcher Jose Alvarado suspended 80 games for a failed PED test. I think that's one of the first suspensions this year for a failed drug test.
I guess it was like a weight loss drug or something that I don't know. It's
the old
just
Ozempic's getting people.
Yep.
The Ozempic's made its way to Major League Baseball. Heading over to the Hockey League, the Stars, they win in overtime Saturday night 2-1 to win the series over the Jets. Panthers 6-1 win and 4-3 series win over the Maple Leafs that finished yesterday. It's not the Maple Leafs year. Sorry for all of Canada. NBA, the Thunder, they crushed the Nuggets. Do you have something?
No.
Oh, I thought you raised your hand. NBA, the Thunder crushed the Nuggets to advance to the Western Conference Finals, 125-93 the final score. SGA dropped 35. Heading over to the PGA Championship, that event happened this weekend. I thought it was going to be close. At one point it was close yesterday, and then Scottie Scheffler is just too good. He won by 5 strokes. Harry English, Bryson DeChambeau, and Davis Riley all finished at 6 under par at a tie for second. Scheffler was made aware that Scheffler had to use a new driver this weekend after his old driver failed the non-conforming test, a test that Rory McIlroy also failed. The difference is Rory McIlroy's been nowhere to be found regarding this topic, so he's been using a unfair driver, probably when he won the Masters. So, unfortunately, I would hate to see that get revoked for our good friend Rory McIlroy.
He had a bad weekend.
Bad weekend.
What do you make of? Do you believe he should have to address the media? Because that's a lot of people are making a lot about that. Like when he plays well, he loves addressing the media. When he doesn't play well, he's nowhere to be found. There's even scheduled media appearances that he's supposed to make that he's just straight up skipping, like he's Reed.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's. I don't know. What do you make of that? Should he have to? I mean, there's no policy. Golf does not have a policy that you have to address the media like the NBA does, the NFL, Major League Baseball. Like you are part of your contract is you are obligated to face the media post game. That's not a thing in golf.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you have to, if I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think you should have to, because really the only time media wants to hear from you is when something goes wrong. When Rory blows a lead at the U.S. Open, people want to see that reaction. I have no issue at all with him skipping out. I like at some point he's going to have to address it, and he knows that. The later he pushes this off, the worse it looks for him. But no, he's not obligated by the tour. He's not obligated by anybody to go speak to the media. I just know the longer he waits, it's going to get worse and worse because people like me are just going to make jokes about it.
Well, I have a problem with golf then. Golf should demand, for one, people get mad like, why do athletes have to go do that? But for one, as a sport, you would want that. You want your product in front of the mics, in front of the camera as much as possible. And like you said, if it bleeds, it leads. You didn't necessarily say that necessarily, but I mean, a lot of times I'm more interested in, I don't like if a guy wins, I don't really care so much about what they have to say after they win. I kind of want to hear from the guys that struggled.
Of course you do.
Because if it bleeds, it leads. And I don't blame Rory. I'm not mad at Rory for not doing it. If he's not obligated to do it, then he doesn't have to do it. That's why that Marshawn Lynch thing from years ago was such a big deal. Like, I'm only here so I don't get fined. Well, maybe golf needs to start implementing that hey, if you place in the top whatever, you do need to address the media, post whatever, and kind of go from there. But I don't think he did anything wrong because he didn't break any dang rule. So it's not his responsibility to face the media. Golf should already want you to do that to begin with.
Yeah, Listen, I have no issue with it. I mean, you can get mad. I think Colin Morikawa was in the headlines maybe a month ago or two, and he was basically echoing the same thing. Like the media only wants to hear from when they struggle, when you blow a lead, when you're leading and choke it all away. And then I think that like if you want to have that same type of energy to hear from somebody after they win, then that's great. But we all know that that's not the case. So I have no issue with it, but the PGA probably should implement a rule. I'd imagine they will. So, and Craig asked, Scheffler's driver also failed. I mentioned that. I think that the difference is Scheffler talked about it and said that he changed it into this weekend, which is why he said it struggled. Rory, we just have no idea what's going on there. So that's all you need to know. Moving on to FC Cincinnati, hell is real. 1-1. It's soccer, so they tied. Kevin Denke scored in the 6th minute. The equalizer scored in the 54th minute on a penalty. Casey, hell is real.
Yeah, FC's lucky to get out of that with a draw. You forgot to mention Salentano had like 5 or 6 saves that game, and like most of them are in the back half of that game. He had a phenomenal night. It was lucky that FC got out of there with a draw. For some reason, they just cannot play well, especially at the back half of games against Columbus. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just like something in their minds, in the back of their heads, that just keeps them from playing up to their potential. But quick early score in the 6th minute, and then they just couldn't get anything done. They had 31% possession that game. I mean, it was just horrendous. The next Hell is Real game will be in Cincinnati, so hopefully they can get a win there and claim the title of best team in Ohio. Hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll see.
They are tied with Philadelphia in points, 29 apiece. Exactly 9 wins, 2 draws, and 3 losses each. I imagine Philadelphia beat them this year, which is why they're behind They're in second place in the Eastern Conference. So those, Justin, are your headlines.
No one does it better. Elliot's headlines. Ladies and gentlemen, again, Pearl, our intern, is with us here today. Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, myself, Justin Kinner. No Jacob Tisson.
No Jacob Tisson.
Off today. Picked a doozy of a day to be off. He'll be back with us tomorrow. Hall of Famer Marty Brenneman will join us tomorrow. We'll talk Pete Rose. We'll talk Cincinnati Reds. Maybe they, continue winning. Maybe we're talking about.
We sure hope so, don't we?
That train just keeps on going.
We sure hope so.
That's the goal.
I can see it.
That's the goal. All right, Reds have won 4 straight. They won 3 straight over the Guardians over the weekend. They pull off the sweep. I saw the puns over the weekend, how sweep it is.
Nice.
To get the job done
against
the Guards. Yeah, really good stuff on Chatterbox over the weekend. We'll step away for a few moments. Reaction to all things Reds. Again, winners of 4 straight. They sweep the Guardians over the weekend. They get the record back to 500. But are they back? Back. Another home run for our guy Will Benson. We'll be right back ourselves. More Off the Bench next. All right, and we are back. On Friday, I did predict that the Reds would sweep the Guardians. To be honest, I was just trying to throw out a hot take just to distract people from the Hairgate.
That's right.
Hairgate
people
was bad.
They seem to have forgotten the Hairgate, or at least
they did,
or at least their subconscious had to wipe it from their memories.
Well, between the tiny TV, the Reds sweeping the Guards, Will Benson, there was a lot that happened between Hairgate and as we kick off the show today. So there you go. All right, but in all seriousness, look, that's what's. I think the sweep of the Guardians kind of pisses me off more than anything because, and this is maybe what you're saying, maybe not, but it's like, why is it you could do that? Why? I'm almost angry that you swept the Guardians because it's like that team exists. The capabilities of this team exist, and this is why when we did our buy or sell on Friday, one of the buy or sells was the 2025 season is over. I said, as long as the Reds are continuing to get the pitching that they are getting, I can't sit there and close the casket on the season. I can't say that the season's officially dead because they are getting that pitching, and all it takes with that pitching is to get semi-complimentary hitting. Not top 5 hitting in baseball, probably not even you probably want top 10, but you know what I mean, especially consistently. But I said, as long as you're getting that pitching, you get any kind of just even average run support, this team's going to be in position to win a lot of games throughout the season, or a lot more games than what they've won up to this point. And sure enough, they get that great pitching over the weekend, great performances. I think the save for Pagan yesterday was probably the most impressive one when you look at the fact that it was kind of a bump. He didn't look his best. I don't think he looked his best out there yesterday, and he was able to pitch out of a jam. Same thing, yesterday, Abbott didn't look good to start. He walked some guys early. He pitched himself out of a jam. I think that when the Reds are pitching like that and you're getting hitting and you're getting complimentary run support, they're a tough team to beat, and we saw that over the weekend. That's why I can't say that the season is dead. But it's also frustrating because you don't just beat the Guards, you sweep the Guards. You sweep the Guardians, but you're coming off of dropping 2 or 3 against the White Sox. Talk about the Marlins series. That's why I'm not going to jump on your case, Elliot. I'm not going to say that you're wrong because we're basically saying the same thing. Every point that you're making is correct. They should beat those teams. How do you go and sweep the Guardians? It's kind of hard for me to put a ton of stock into sweeping the Guardians when I've seen more examples of you coming up short against teams like the White Sox and others. So I love what we saw over the weekend. I'm going to remain positive moving forward, especially into this Pirates series. Another opportunity to beat up on a team that they should beat up on, a team that they've already beat up on just a week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was they played them last. Bottom line is, that's a good thing that happened over the weekend, but it is tough for me to sit back and act like the White Sox and the Marlins and other stuff hasn't happened already to this point.
Do you trust them?
I don't trust them. I trust the pitching. That's why I said on Friday I don't think the season's dead. I trust the pitching, but I don't trust Will Benson. I don't care. Everyone's drooling over him right now. Great. We can get into him in a second, but I don't trust Will Benson. I don't trust the Cincinnati Reds right now. I just don't.
Casey, do you trust him?
I mean, I don't trust Will Benson. I mean, there's a reason his first time coming up this season, he struck out 4 times in the first game and then got sent right back down. I mean, they don't trust him either.
Pearl, do you trust them?
No.
Them being the Reds.
Oh, the Reds? They got to prove themselves.
Exactly.
I don't trust Benson, though. He's too inconsistent, and he always has been.
Nobody trusts the Reds, and you can sit here and say you do. I mean, you can sit here and say that they're going to have some momentum after beating the Guardians. They did this song and dance last year. We've seen this. They swept the Yankees, and then what happens? You come home and then you get swept by Detroit, and then you lose to the Nationals, and then after the All-Star break, and you lose to the Marlins. We've done this song and dance for 3 years now. I know how this story is written. You can try to say it's not over, and for the record, yeah, they're 24-24. Mathematically, it's not over. It's more than alive. The Reds are absolutely in control of their own destiny. If they want to run away with a absolutely terrible NL Central, they have that in them. They can try to do so. I know better. I mean, I know better. This is fool's gold. As for Will Benson, I actually do trust Will Benson. Will Benson is a guy that, sure, is he gonna lead this team to a World Series? No, but I think he's better than the options that you were running out, and that's part of the reason why I'm still not as excited. Kinner said we should be more excited about a sweep of the Guardians. You had Rhys Hines and Will Benson rotting away in AAA for what? So we could see more at bats from Blake Dunn. How many games do we have to watch Blake Dunn not contribute? How many games are we going to sit here and watch Jacob Hurtubise not contribute? When a team that struggles with offense as frequently as the Reds do, continues to struggle with offense game in and game out, and we have 2 guys mashing down in AAA, and it takes you 2 month, to bring them up? I mean, it's a joke. It's organizational malpractice. I'm happy they're up now because they're playing great. They're playing their tails off. Will Benson, this weekend, this is per Lance McAllister. Thank you, Lance McAllister. Since his recall on May 10th in 8 games, the Reds are 5-3 during that stretch. He's 11 for 26 with 2 doubles, 5 home runs, 11 RBIs, and a stolen base. He has 3 walks during that stretch and only 5 strikeouts. He's hitting .423, .483, 1.077, 1.560. He literally couldn't be playing any better. Is he going to finish like that play like that the rest of the year? Absolutely not. But the fact that we missed out on this for over a month, it's borderline disgraceful. And that's why I'm still angry. That's why today I'm not looking at it with sunshine and rainbows. I'm happy they beat the Guardians. I'm happy. I'm thrilled. They're 24-24. They're back to 500. They could have used that terrible momentum that they had coming into this series, gotten swept, and we would have been in a completely different space now. Terry Francona did a great job this weekend. The Reds did a great job this weekend. The pitching staff did a great job this weekend. All around, it was near perfect, as this team could possibly play. And I still look here, and we take on the Pirates tonight in the next 3 days, and I'm still concerned about what they are. I'm hoping they can be as consistent. And for the record, I did cancel the season right in the midst of bringing up Will Benson, not to give me a mulligan there. Shout out to Sean Connor. But yeah, I'm still in the same wagon. This doesn't change my mind. It keeps me watching. It keeps me engaged. And for shout out to Jacob and I, but we've been saying that for as long as we possibly could this year. We want them to move that goalpost as far down the line as they possibly can. That's all I've wanted. If we're playing competitive baseball in mid-July, after the All-Star break, and we're getting to August and we're still competitive, that's all I've asked here. And if they can do that, they've done their job. They've accomplished their goal. The win total was 78.5. They weren't supposed to win the division. They weren't supposed to win the World Series. They weren't supposed to get to the playoffs. They aren't supposed to. They can change that narrative. They can absolutely change that narrative. I think Pearl said it this morning. She brought up that, maybe they're the Diamondbacks of a few years ago. Nobody expected that Diamondbacks team to get to a World Series. So there is that hope. There is that possibility that they bring when you sweep a team. But you have to stack series wins. You have to. A sweep is so misleading because you could lose the next 2 series 2-1, and you're still not that far out of it. But you're not taking that momentum and you're not using it. They have to be able to do that. They just got through the easiest stretch of the season with 2 series wins. 2 series wins. One of them is against a team that's borderline a AA team. The Colorado Rockies shouldn't be allowed to play baseball. So they took advantage there. But as for the Reds right now, yeah, you have an easy stretch. Pearl came in with stats today. How many games, the next few series, how many are against division opponents?
Oh, well, 4 out of the next 5 series that the Reds have are against NL Central opponents, and 2 of those 5 are against the first place Cubs. So this is the tell. However they come out of this, maybe then you can put the nail in the coffin. But I don't think we need to yet. Let's just see how this pans out.
And that's a fair point. They control their destiny. Right now, they control their destiny. You have momentum. Let's see if they can use it. These are massive series. You can't afford this. The Cubs are really good. Do I expect to beat the Cubs? No. But I expect them to hold serve. And to the Reds' credit this year, I mean, they've been able to at least salvage something from these series. They haven't been swept a whole lot, if ever. Have they been swept yet this season?
No.
So it's, to their credit, they're fighting. But I need more. They need more to survive. And we'll see if Will Benson and re-signs are that spark.
Yeah, and again, to Pearl's point, I mean, right now the only non-division opponent that the Reds face for the rest of May and into June is the Royals coming up, but obviously 3 with the Pirates, which they start tonight. Nick Lodolo going to be on the mound for Game 1. Game 1 at Pittsburgh, 3 at Pittsburgh, and then they'll welcome in the Chicago Cubs to Great American Ballpark starting this Friday. Hunter Green, another throwing session today. The goal was to have him back by that Cubs series. Maybe not this Cubs series. I don't know if they're going to fast track him. I don't know if they're going to push him. I don't even know. Do you think he'll have a rehab start? Do you think that he'll get a rehab start somewhere? Or do you think that with how minor this was that he'll just be right back out there?
I'm hoping that he does, just so I can.
And are the rules? Maybe he has to. I don't know if the rules.
I
think you have to, if I'm not mistaken. But
I would want to see it just so everything's good. You don't need to come up here right away and force something that doesn't need to be forced. They need help. I mean, the Reds need help. They're 24-24. That's great. They still need their guys to be available and healthy. So,
As far as the Will Benson thing, as far as that goes with the way he's performed as of late, it's the trust. And let's put the trust for him off to the side for a minute. The lineup, it's not like that was a collective. I mean, you win 4 straight, you sweep a good team like the Guardians. That's a good team effort, right? You get great pitching. But the Reds have scored 19 runs over the last 4 games. 10 of those 19 runs have come due to Will Benson. You take him away, no one else is consistently hitting the ball the way he is. No one else is consistently driving in runs the way that he is right now. And is this Will Benson production something that we can continue to count on as fans? Is this Will Benson the Will Benson that Terry Francona can count on moving forward? That's the big question. I know you said that you trust him. I'm not going to go as hard in the paint as I don't trust him. I don't think he's this good. But I also think that this isn't the same impact if Elly's doing this. If Elly's responsible for 10 of your 19 runs over a 4-game stretch, I think I trust it more. We're still not seeing consistently enough the bigger names in this lineup consistently add to it. We keep talking about we need Austin Hayes. We keep talking about all the underwhelming additions in the offseason. We need them to be great. We keep talking about the guys from AAA, Reese Hines and Will Benson. We keep talking how they need to be great. This goes back to my point Friday. At a certain point, and Elly's been okay. Matt McClain has been bad collectively all season. He's been better as of late. Those guys have to be stars. And to Matt McClain's credit, he took a lot of accountability over the weekend. There's a quote with, from an article with Charlie Goldsmith saying, for us to be as good as what we're supposed to be, him and Elly have to be great, and they just haven't been. And Charlie wrote about how those two have been they've been okay at times. They just haven't been great enough for this team to win consistently. So Will Benson, this is fantastic. But I would feel better about it, too, if we saw a little bit more complimentary run production from some other pieces in that lineup, because you take his 10 runs away, that's 9 runs in 4 games from everybody else. So that's the concern.
Let me ask you this. Will Benson or Jacob Hurtubise?
Matt McClain, step up.
But let me ask you this. Will Benson or Blake Dunn?
Oh, no, look, this isn't a
my
debate.
point-
To
my
me, it's
point-
not a debate. I'm with you.
My point
I'm
to
with
you,
you.
my point
I'm not
to you is
debating
whether or
that
not
those
you
other
trust
guys.
Will Benson's
Yeah.
irrelevant. It's irrelevant because we've seen it.
Yep.
That's my thing is we've seen it. I've seen it with Matt McClain, limited time. I've seen it with Elly De La Cruz, larger time. I've seen it with Will Benson. You've seen it with some of these players. My question to you is, yes, of course the Stars need to be better, 100%. But my question to you is, if we had the answer to this test, and I keep bringing that up, if we have the answer to the test and you're willingly not using it, for God knows what reason, how is that okay? We got through the easiest stretch of the season with 2 series wins. The offense looked abysmal.
Yep.
Will Benson comes up and immediately is looking like the best player on the lineup. Rhys Hines, one of the best players in the lineup.
But we've also, you said we've seen, and by the way, I'm a Will Benson guy. It may not seem like it this show. I am a Will Benson guy. But Pearl brought up the inconsistencies with him. And she's right. So when we've seen this, the reason Will Benson is still getting as many options as he is continuing to be sent back down and called back up again is because as great of a run as we've seen him go on, like 2 years ago in 2023, we did watch him in all of 2024, which was abysmal. I didn't like that they did call him up for one game. He did go 0 for 4. He struck out a lot, and then they just pulled the trigger on it again and sent him back down. I didn't like that they didn't give him a little bit more time there, obviously. But we've, as many great things as we've seen from Will Benson, we've also seen a lot of bad as well. So it's like you got to take the good with the bad with him. But my goodness, I hope this is the Will Benson. Like he fixes a lot of problems with this roster. He answers a lot of issues with this roster if that's the case, if this is him. Do I expect him to put up 10 RBIs every 4 games? I do not. But for him to be a presence in that lineup is huge because there's a lot of guys that have not consistently stepped up to be a presence in the lineup. If he could do that to spark this offense, which he's done the last 4 games, I think that's big, especially heading into this Pirates series.
The theme for the Reds this season has been gambling. It's been, when they get a double, you're rolling the dice, right?
Yep.
Will Benson's playing with house money right now. Matt McClain, respectfully, has been woeful. I mean, he's been non-existent. He's been borderline terrible. Elly De La Cruz, for the expectations that we have for him, he's underperformed. He's still a great baseball player. Nobody's saying he's not. He's just underperformed for what our expectation is and for what we need him to be.
Yeah, especially like 45 or whatever games into the season at this point. Almost 50 games into the season. Yeah, he's underperformed, if you will. Not been horrible, but underperformed, as you just said.
Our metric for Will Benson is be better than Blake Dunn and be better than Jacob Hurtubise.
It's like saying I need to be taller than a 5th grader. I think I can get that done sometimes.
The line for if Will Benson strikes out 30 straight times, doesn't get on base, he's 0 for 30 with 30 strikeouts, what he's providing me is still more than what Blake Dunn and Jacob Hurtubise did. And again, I know I'm making fun of those 2 guys, but I saw it last year when you bring up Bubba Thompson and Levi Jordan, and you have guys that again, I don't mean to just absolutely destroy these guys, but come on. I mean, we've seen what they can do, and what they can do is not very much. I've seen what Will Benson can do. I've seen, Casey's number 1 moment as a Reds fan is a Will Benson home run, walk-off. We've seen stuff from Will Benson. I've seen stuff from Rhys Hines, which is why I don't understand it. Is it strikeouts? This team strikes out more than anybody. So what's our metric for hiding these guys away?
Yeah, that's the case.
I've never understood. Rhys Hines has done 45 times more than whatever CES has done. He's done 45 times more probably at this point. He's getting close to what Matt McClain's done. He's not there yet. We need them to be a part of the team. You need them to play. I'm not saying they got to play every day. They probably should at this point. But you have to have them available. They're playing with house money. They're playing well. You have to ride that momentum. You have to. I don't care if Will Benson's inconsistent. I don't care at this point. At the start of the season, I didn't want Will Benson up because I thought I'd seen, not enough, but I thought I'd seen him not elevate the Reds. And I thought the guys that we had on this roster at the time could elevate the Reds. through 48 games this season. I know that the guys we had before him weren't elevating anything. So Will Benson has to be here and he has to contribute.
All right, this is Off the Bench. We are off and rolling here on a Monday. Again, the Reds have won 4 straight. They just are coming off of a sweep against the Cleveland Guardians, one of the hottest teams in the American League. The Reds now turn their attention towards the NL Central. They have 3 with the Pirates on the road. They return home this weekend against the Chicago Cubs for a 3-game series. They do have the Royals in between, another 6-game stretch where you will have the Cubs and, of course, the Brewers, who, the Reds always have success against the Brewers. But you are right, Pearl, this stretch coming up, and I feel like we do this a lot. I feel like we've already done this, hey, after next week, we'll know who they are. I kick this can down the road all the time. But when you have so many division opponents coming up, and you're going up against a team like the Brewers that you always struggle against, the Cubs are one of the hottest teams in baseball right now, and they're the team that you're chasing sitting at the top of the division. This is a big stretch coming up for the Reds. So we're going to step away for a few moments. The Reds are on a lot of people's radar right now, talking baseball. That baseball podcast, I just put out the biggest storylines in baseball. The Reds are a part of that. But let's talk about, Will Benson, if he is here to stay, if this offensive production from him is here to stay, and you do get a Matt McClain, and you do get an Elly De La Cruz, and you do get an Austin Hayes and a TJ Friedl, and you get the whole party now starting to give complimentary run production to what this pitching staff has done almost 50 games into the season. Just how good can this Reds team actually be? We'll discuss more when we come back. More Off the Bench next. All right, and we welcome you back Off the Bench. We got Justin Kinner, myself. We got Pearl hanging out with us. We introduced you to her earlier. She's our new intern, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing. Happy Monday. I'm really glad the Reds did what they did over the weekend, though.
I'm glad they did, too.
I'm really glad they did what they did. It just gives, we scoot up in our seat a little more. We sit up in our seat a little bit more. Are they about to pull the seat out from underneath us? Probably. But for the meantime, we at least have a seat to sit on. So that's a good thing.
We're here on a Monday, and they're not below 500. So for what it's worth, they can do whatever they want. They can try to fight. They can give up. We're still going to watch. That's the thing. As long as they've got me engaged, I don't care really. Sure, should my goal be to win a championship? Yeah, but in 30 years, we haven't really been close. So I'm not going to have my expectation be that today. So
I didn't realize this, but the Reds have the longest win streak in baseball right now, so kudos to them.
That can't be right.
4 straight games.
That's not right at all.
According to Talking Baseball, the Reds have won an MLB best 4 straight, and Will Benson has homered in every game during that stretch, and that's what we spent a lot. Fact check that, please.
I'm going to fact check it because there's no way that's right.
All right. You don't think anyone's won more than 4 straight games? Now, we've seen the Cardinals. What do we got?
Oh, I was just going to say, 7 of the rivalry weekend series were sweeps, so that's probably true because at least 7 teams lost 3 straight.
So the Tigers have won 8 of their last 11. Cardinals have won 9 of their last 11, but the Cardinals lost one over the weekend too. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's only 4 games. That's not a big pump your chest moment right there. But we're talking about the Reds coming off that sweep against the Guards, and we've joked about this. You've said it 100 times. We watched it last year. You sweep the Yankees, you get everyone's hopes up, and now the Tigers ended up being better at the end of the year. But at the time, the Tigers were not a good team when the Reds got swept by them. So it was a typical yo-yo season for the Cincinnati Reds last year, and it might be the same case this season. But the bottom line is the Reds did find a way to climb themselves out of a hole. They are back to 500. But here's the thing: you want to know what they accomplished over the last 4 straight wins, guys and gal? They made up a half a game. That's it. They're still the same amount of games back in the division. They're only made up a half game in the wild card. They did this is going to be tough the rest of the season. This isn't just playing 500 baseball that we're asking them to do the rest of the year. For them to accomplish what they need to accomplish, they have to be better than just a 500 baseball team because the Cardinals, are the Cardinals good? Are the Cardinals good? They've won
I
9
don't
of
want to
11.
admit they're good.
What's that?
Not really.
So you're still not
And
buying into them?
regardless of on paper, they're definitely not impressive.
So, and they're one of the hottest teams right now. And it's like they're another team that, like the Reds could do this. Still, there's going to be a lot of people, Elliot included, that will be skeptical. But, the Cardinals are taking advantage of a stretch right now. The Cubs are hot, but they've been hot for two months in, 50 games in almost. They're one of the best teams in baseball. The wild card, those teams aren't going anywhere either. You're asking the Reds to, we're asking the Reds, just play 500 baseball. You're not going to have more wins than the Padres. You're not going to have more wins than the Diamondbacks. You're not going to have more wins than the Giants might be for real, too. I think it's Jacob who's not bought in on the Giants. The Giants are one of the better teams out there right now, too. We've just watched the Reds win 4 straight, and they made up a half game on both sides. It's going to be tough work the rest of the way.
They're not they're not getting in through the wild card. We know this. They're not better than the Giants. I don't think they're better than the Diamondbacks, and I certainly don't think they're better than the Atlanta Braves, despite the Braves having a down year. So the wild card has a 0.0% chance of getting in that way. I just don't see it. You're going to have to win. You're going to have to win 90 games, 92, 93 games. The Padres and Phillies are unbelievable. So I don't see a world where that happens. As for the division, I do think there's a shot at the division. I'm not going to rule that out entirely. I'm certainly not going to say they have a great shot at it. I think the Cubs are leagues ahead of where the Reds are currently, but you at least you're playing the same sport as I think the Cubs. You're not playing the same sport as the Phillies. I don't think you're playing the same sport as the Padres or the Mets. I think there are teams that are just wildly better than the Reds, and that's okay to say. And we'll see if they're able to fight. As for making up ground, I'm not even making up ground is fine. We can have that conversation in late July and August. Right now, it's just about winning games. Stack a series, get 3 series wins in a row. See if you can do that. I don't know when the last time the Reds won 3 or 4 series in a row. I really can't remember a time where they did that. So that's what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for progress. Any sort of progress. I don't care what kind. I said last week, win series ugly. It doesn't matter to me. You win a series, you win a series. This isn't about being the best team in baseball. This is just about being better than you were a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. That's what I'm looking for. Last year, they were unable to do it all season long, prove that they were better than they were in 2023. This year, they've been unable to prove it so far. If you stack a series win here, you get the Pirates. Maybe you sweep the Pirates. Who knows? I think the Pirates are legitimately garbage. So if you're able to take away a series from them and you're able to continue on, then yeah, there's a shot that the Reds can maybe fight for this division. It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. Wild card is impossible.
We appreciate everyone who is tuning in and hanging out with us right now on YouTube, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. Beyond appreciate everyone hanging out with us today. If you could, please give the live stream a like right now. That helps obviously grow the algorithm and continue to push out the show to those who have not tuned in yet, but help us grow that by giving the show a like. We appreciate everyone tuning in with us today. The one thing that this show has been accused of in recent weeks is, we're too negative. And then when we say positive things, I'll see it on the post. Other fan bases will chime in and say delusional Reds fans, yada, yada. I don't think that this is a negative show. I don't think that it's a homer show. I do think it's a reactionary show, and I think that's how you should be with pretty much everything. Like this idea that if the Reds won 4 straight and you're excited about it, because I'm not going to poo-poo on anyone that's excited about the fact that they've won 4 straight, or I'm not going to knock anyone for being excited about the fact that you just swept the Cleveland Guardians, one of the top teams in the American League, one of the top teams in baseball at this point. So be excited about that, because the bottom line is, for those that say, well, don't overreact, this team's going to let you down in the future, blah, blah, blah. Well, if that's the case, then all these types of shows, any show, should just shut off the mics and we'll just do a season recap at the end of the year. All right, so everything's about reacting to where we are at currently right now. And this Reds team has been taking us on a roller coaster for quite some time. We react to all the tough losses. We react to the big series sweep like this one. Against the Guardians, of course, and now they get a little bit more people to believe. Then there's other people that are skeptical. This show's very reactionary, and we're reacting, of course, to the Reds coming off that sweep against the Guards over the weekends. And the trust factor with this team is going to be a big deal moving forward. You mentioned the Reds are not playing the same type of baseball as the Phillies and some of these other top teams that they're going to be looking up at when it comes to the wild card. But what would it take for that to be the case? Because the same reason I said I'm not giving up on the season this past week was because of pitching. is the same reason why I'm like, you're this close. What has to happen for that gap to close? It is Matt and it is Elly, in my opinion. If Will Benson, who answers a lot of questions in that outfield, that you're very confident now in that outfield, if Austin Hayes plays the way he's capable of when he's healthy, stay healthy, my dude. Excuse me. Austin Hayes, obviously, if Will Benson produces the way he does, TJ Friedel's been a very consistent guy out in the outfield. Hopefully that injury doesn't continue to keep him out. All of a sudden, the outfield's not that bad. That outfield's not that bad. And now you're starting to get a little bit of answers to some questions. Elly needs to be the superstar that he's expected to be. Matt McClain needs to figure it out, right? If those two are who they're supposed to be, and Will Benson has emerged now, and now you obviously have Austin Hayes and Friedel, now there's something to work with. Stevenson's back, obviously. You have depth at catcher. There's something to work with here, right? I saw Reese Hines was getting some time at first base. Right now, it's all about just trying to find anyone that can produce offensively and find a spot for them out on that field just to keep them in the lineup, because the pitching is going to keep you in it. They're closer than what I feel like a lot of us, including you, are giving them credit for.
I'm not going to sit here and say I think they're close. I'm just not going to do it.
But if all those guys do pan out,
yeah, I mean,
who are they?
If Matt McClain and Elly De La Cruz, and we'll just hold it for those
Okay.
two. I don't care about anybody else. If those two are good, then yeah, this team I believe is a playoff team. I believe they're at least in that ballpark. They're gonna win 85 games. If those two are the players that we've seen in the past, on top of the pitching that has to be healthy, on top of the rest of the lineup that has to be healthy, if everything goes perfectly, then yeah, I do think the Reds are a playoff team. The issue is, and probably the reason why Las Vegas set the number at 78.5, is because things don't go perfect in 162 games. CES, don't know where he's at. I've got Noelvi Marte came up, got hurt immediately. He was very, very good when he was up. Spencer Steer's been hurt this entire season. Nobody knows why. You know, there are things that happened over the course of a long season where you can't bet on it. You can't bet on it. The only thing I've been able to bet on so far is that when those bad things happen, the Reds in prior years have been unable to find any sort of answer with it. You know, the fact that it took, again, I hate to keep saying it, but 48 games it took to find out that Blake Dunn and Jacob Hurtubise weren't the answers to a team that can't hit. It's unacceptable. I mean, it's just unacceptable. So for how close they have to be to get to the Phillies, they need a lineup that's competitive. I mean, the Reds have a damn good starting rotation. We know this. They've got a bullpen who I think have, respectfully, they've played as good as they could possibly play. You need a lineup that's consistent. You need a lineup that's able to put the ball in play. You need a lineup that's able to hit for power. They have to do the small things right. They have to steal bases. They have to move runners over. I can't tell you how many times we've gotten to extra innings this year and we haven't moved a runner over. You know, that can't happen. So that's what I'm looking for to be, for the Reds to be anywhere close to the Phillies or the Mets or the Dodgers or any team like that. It's impossible to be the Dodgers. But outside of those teams, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic that Will Benson's going to give them the spark that they need. You know, we came in this season with Jeimer Candelario. I think I was talking with Reed about it. I was talking with Jacob about it, and I said that if Jeimer Candelario can play up to his contract, you know, this team's going to be in a great place. Obviously, that didn't work. Jeimer Candelario, respectfully, can't play baseball. And you go down the line, and there's about 4 other guys that are probably in the same zone. But, yeah, there have been guys that have fought. TJ Friedel's fought this season. I mean, say whatever you want. He might not be the world's best center fielder, but he's fought. I mean, he's hitting, 270, 360 OBP, 730 OPS. He's not the world's best player, but he's fought. He's fighting. You know, Spencer Steer, God love him. I didn't want him to play at all this year because of that injury. He's been playing. I don't know if he's missed really any time, hardly. He's barely hitting above the Mendoza line. He's still not playing up to what I think he could be. But, again, I think he's fighting. I think he's in there swinging and he's trying. So if the guys that we thought were going to be good at any point this season can string together a good month of baseball, that's what I'm looking for, and that's when you can take advantage of games. I wish that would have happened over the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, against, you know, the American League's worst and some of the National League's worst, but we didn't, and you have to move on. It's you know, you got to take off the blinders and you just got to keep going. Hopefully they can stack momentum, but as for being one of those top teams, you need offensive help. That's what they need consistently. And I don't know if you're going to get that out of guys like, you know, CES, out of guys like Spencer Steer at this point this season. Jake Fraley. There's still a lot of work to be done. Tyler Stevenson, I love Tyler Stevenson, but he's been terrible. I mean, offensively, he's been woeful. The catching position was probably our best position numbers-wise offensively through the first 48 games. Tyler Stevenson comes up. He has to play because he's your starting catcher. Those numbers now drop, right? Jose Trevino's losing at bats, Wynn's losing at bats.
And then when you do give them at bats back, it's like they've lost a little bit of their rhythm, right?
Yeah.
And that was my concern.
Tyler Stevenson needs to be better. I mean, if you're gonna say three guys that need to be better, it's Elly, Tyler, and Matt McClain. Are you going to bet on them to be better at this point? I'm not, but I mean, certainly there's hope for it, and I've seen good things out of all three of those guys, at least during stretches of their careers. Elly's been rock solid since the day he came up here, rock solid. Matt, he was good for a stretch his first year in 2023, and Steve-O's been solid. He was solid last year, and he's been solid in the past. So I have no doubt that they can, but it's about time, man. You got to pick spots to get hot, and unfortunately for the Reds, they haven't picked their spot yet this year. They need to get hot right now. They have to.
All right, you mentioned Elly De La Cruz. We are 48 games into the season, and Elly De La Cruz has been out there for every single one of them. I remember last year when that off day for Elly De La Cruz finally came about to everyone, people lost their minds, including me, because of the timing of it. We'll discuss when we come back. Terry Francona was asked about the idea of, well, does Elly need an off day coming up, a rest day coming up? His answer had people talking over the weekend. We'll discuss when we come back. This. It's just a vibe thing for me. And if you want me to go out on a limb and give you a hot take, how about this for a Friday? When we come back on Monday, we're going to talk about how the Cincinnati Reds just swept the Cleveland Guardians at Great American Ballpark. And it starts tonight. They're getting a win tonight, and they're going to take that win over the White Sox and build on that momentum, baby. They're going to.
Let me ask you this.
When it comes to this, all I could think about is that hat. How cool that hat was.
That's a great hat. That's a great hat.
That should have been the hat from the very first second of Friday's show to the very end.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good call by you. Hand up. That was good.
I went diving for it. I had to find it. So I had a little bit of a bad hair day on Friday. This thing like does really curly, weird stuff if I don't do anything with it. And I was late for work that day, and I thought, well, maybe no one will notice.
Well, maybe you should have brought it back because we got the sweep, and maybe the hat was the.
It's the
That was
rally
the
hitter?
reason.
The rally
Yeah,
hat.
maybe.
If they win tonight, maybe no, we have Marty.
If they
on
lose,
tomorrow.
it's on you.
I can't interview Marty Brenneman with the mop. But if they do win tonight and tomorrow, maybe Game 3, we break it out for Game 3. Maybe.
Yeah.
There you go. Will the Reds win Games 1 and 2?
Yeah. Probably not.
Yeah.
Let's go to Super Chat. Chad Waits, $4.99. Take a few of the 25 infielder prospects we have, trade them for an everyday outfielder. Boom. Just did the job of former bat boy Nick Kroll. He gets paid millions of dollars to do it.
How about, by the way, it took an entire series with the White Sox for this show to figure out how to say the name of Luis Robert.
That's right. Still don't know if that's right.
Luis Robert, Luis Robert. But our friend of the show, Tommy Thrall, it was Luis Robert the entire series. So there's that. But maybe he's an option.
that.
Maybe he's an option.
Yeah.
When Will Benson cools off, maybe that's an option.
I saw fans on Twitter this weekend, and this is why I've tried to keep my opinions for the most part on Twitter to myself, just because all I get on Twitter is just nonsense. And and shout out to Mavs and 7. I don't know if he watches this show, but I know he listens to the other show I was a part of once. And he was getting on Jacob's tail. Stop acting like you knew that Will Benson was better than Jacob Hurtubise and Blake Dunn. Stop acting like you knew. Everybody knew it. I knew it. Pearl knew it. Casey knew it. Kinner knew it. Trace knew it. Reed knew it. Every person on the known universe knew that Will Benson was going to give you more than those two guys. Even if they didn't give more than those two guys, they still are giving more than those two guys. So that's where they are. And I saw like Reds Twitter, like they argue all the time on this stuff, and it's so tiring. I've truly stopped caring. I'll tweet out a thought every once in a while after they lose 3 series in a row. But it's like, I'm happy for them. I'm happy the Reds are figuring something out. Because if you do the same thing over and over again, as we're all told, it's the definition of insanity. And it's literally insane to keep running those two guys out when you have better options available. If Rhys Hines is hitting 170 right now, if he hits 170 for the rest of the year and hits a home run once a week, once every 2 weeks, fine by me. Better than what you were getting before.
One thing that was talked about, you talked about the old Twitter machine over the weekend. A lot of people jumped on a quote from Terry Francona. Charlie Goldsmith had put this out, in case I sent it to you earlier, regarding the fact that while we've talked a lot about how banged up this roster always seems to be, guys are always missing games. Elly De La Cruz has so many amazing traits to his game. I think the one that is the most underrated is the fact that he is available every single day. And knock on wood, if there's anything around you, just knock on that. There we go. But it is pretty damn remarkable that in a day and age where everyone gets hurt sneezing, he is we could talk about all the skill sets that he brings to the table. Reliability and availability are probably the number 1 and 2. And that's saying something, because there's a lot of things that should be number 1 and 2 on that list when it comes to how talented he is. I remember last year, I think it was kind of heading into the All-Star break. I remember it was I think I had just started doing the show with you guys, and there was a series. I can't remember the team that the Reds were playing, but the Reds really needed that Game 3. We know how good the Reds are in Game 3s in these series. And David Bell gave Elly an off day, and I wasn't a fan of it. I don't think you were a fan of it either. It wasn't the end of the world. Were the Reds going to lose because he wasn't in the lineup? No. But the Reds desperately needed to win this series to kind of take some momentum into the All-Star break. And David Bell decided ahead of the All-Star break to give Elly De La Cruz one of maybe 2 or maybe a total of 3 off days in the first half of last season. I wasn't a fan of it. He's always available. It's pretty damn remarkable. Terry Francona was asked about Elly De La Cruz and his constant availability in the lineup. He goes on to say, Elly De La Cruz, he's one of the most energetic people I've ever seen. Last night he didn't hit the ball, and he was the happiest guy coming off the field. That shows me something. When even kind of talked to him, or we kind of talked to him last night, do you need a day? He said, nope, there will be a time where maybe he does or we'll DH him, but I like when he plays. Well, Terry, I think we all like when he plays. Any concern at all? I don't have a concern. I don't really have a hot take on this at all, but I did see how many people got triggered by it, that they're wearing him down when talking about him underperforming to this point of the season, that he's probably tired, he needs off days. The Reds the season has built in off days throughout. He's had some off days when the team's off. Does Elly De La Cruz need an off day? Should they manage that? Is this the series to maybe give him a game, maybe 2 off when you have such big series coming up with the Cubs and the Brewers around the corner? Does Elly De La Cruz need an off day to reset, in your opinion?
Yeah, this isn't baseball in 1875. We're not playing 162 games. The same starting pitcher's not going out every single day. Guys take breaks. It's when you're playing a sport at its highest level, the risk of injury is always going to be a factor. It's why I've said I wouldn't hate the Reds going to a 6-man rotation to give those arms an extra day's rest. When it comes to Elly De La Cruz, of course his best attribute is his availability. He's always there. He has a positive attitude. He's the leader of the team. I need him to be out there for as many days as possible. Am I going to be upset if he plays 157 games instead of 162? No, not at all. I don't care about that at all. It did seem last year like the moments that David Bell decided to take him out of the lineup were rubber matches.
Those were timing things for us. Yeah, it wasn't that
I remember the Diamondback series being one of them last year, where it's like you got a rubber match day game. Can we get Elly some at bats? Yeah, ironically, I think he got an at bat in that game. But this type of stuff doesn't bother me. If somebody needs a break, they need a break. I'd rather Elly take 3 games off than be on the IL for 60 days. So if those are the alternatives, then of course I'd rather him just take a break. But if Elly's not going to pull himself, I've seen it with Spencer Steer. God love Spencer Steer. He's been woeful all season long offensively, but he's fought whatever injury that's ailing him right now, all the way through this point. He doesn't take breaks. He doesn't take off games. And he's fighting, and that's with every player, most players on this Reds team right now. The Phantom IL is only reserved for people who are respectfully who can't play baseball. Jamir Candelario, shout out.
His rest days are almost up too. It sounds like, so we'll see if that worked.
Yeah, Jamir Candelario has no place in the Reds, respectfully. And here's the thing: if you want to say that you're going to get mad at Elly for taking a day off and he's not, Cal Ripken, great. You can be upset about it and you can get your feelings hurt. My thing is though, if our best player is down for a significant period of time, we just did a segment on we need Elly and Matt and Stevenson to be better. If we lose him altogether, then like you talk about being the Phillies, talking about being the Mets. No, you're talking about being the White Sox. That's if you lose Matt and Elly for substantial periods of time, this lineup's not competitive. It's not very good.
Well,
so
you know why being the White Sox would be a good thing? Because they win in Cincinnati. So
they sure do. They sure do.
Sorry, that was uncalled for.
No, that is called for. When you lose to the last place team in the American League at home, a team who set the record, I believe, in Major League Baseball for most losses in a season last year, yeah, I'm allowed to make fun of you for it.
Pearl, Elly De La Cruz, does he need an off day? Do you think he needs an off day? Would you be fine if the lineup comes up later tonight and it's just an off day for Elly De La Cruz? Do you have a problem with that? You fine with it?
I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but I just feel like we have an off day after this Pittsburgh series. Be a little sensible about it.
Smart.
I think take the off day Thursday with these 3 games, unless he communicates with Francona that he's feeling off, which it doesn't seem like he is. He even communicated in an interview in spring training that a goal of his is to play every day. So if he's ready, willing, and able, I say why not? We got an off day coming up on Thursday, so.
No, that's a good point, and that's where. And if David Bell was managing, especially if the Reds, if you split games 1 and 2, and this is what happened. This is what you brought up. It was you need that game 3. You need the series. So it's I'm not a fan of giving him an off day on game 3 of a series. But to Pearl's point, you're off Thursday. So I would so you could look at it one of 2 ways. Well, you're off Thursday, so you have that off day, or take advantage of that off day and compound it with having him out of the lineup on Thursday. Look, do I think he needs it? Is he not living? Is he underperforming in the eyes of most because he's playing every day? I don't think that's the case. I look at sometimes baseball so mental that sometimes you get that off day, 2 off days, and then all of a sudden you go on a tear. A lot of people will circle that off day. Oh, man, ever since Terry gave him that off day, he's just been on a tear ever since. Who knows? But Casey, off day, will he play every game against the Pirates? Do you think he gets an off day before the big series with the Cubs? You got the Royals around the corner, the Brewers coming up.
History would suggest no. I would also say, too, that he's probably the best athlete in all of baseball, so I think he can handle it. He's also very young. I'm not trying to underplay the fact that baseball's a long season and it can really do a number on these athletes, but I just don't see it happening right this second. Like maybe later on down the season if he really needs it. To Pearl's point, he wants to play every day. Let him play every day. So
he's earned the say of whatever he wants to do.
Fair enough. And Terry Francona is an old school baseball guy. So if Elly has told Tim his goal is to play every game, Terry's probably going to find a way to help him accomplish that goal. Because I think that's a big feat in today's sports, where everything's about load management and off days and rest days. I think that's a big feat. And if he does accomplish that, that's a good thing, because that means Elly was in the lineup every damn day. And
that's right.
He gives him the best chance to win baseball games. And that's something this team needs to do more of and consistently do more of, which is win baseball games. And they'll look to keep that going. As far as the Reds' rotation is concerned, Nick Lodolo going to be on the mound tonight. The game is on FS1 tonight, if that matters for anybody. But the game is on FS1 tonight. Nick Lodolo on the mound, game 1 at Pittsburgh. Nick Martinez will be on the mound tomorrow night, and then Brady Singer on the final game on Wednesday for a 12:35 first pitch. He'll be on the mound to close it out. And then the Reds will have an off day Thursday, as we just talked about, and then they'll get that series rolling with the Cubs at Great American Ballpark. I pray for everyone here in this room that this team beats the Pirates in this series. I'm not even asking for a sweep, but do not drop one of two. Or do not drop 2 of 3. Don't only win one of they have to take momentum into that Cubs series, because honestly, if you drop 2 of 3 to the Pirates after winning 4 straight, sweeping the Guardians, you drop 2 of 3 and then you go take 2 of 3 from the Cubs, I'll be pissed. Beat the Pirates. I mean, you've done it already. Like, beat the Pirates. Build off the momentum you just had against the Guardians. It would be huge to take that. How big will that series feel this weekend, guys? If they beat the Pirates, if they sweep the Pirates, I'm just asking for 2 of 3. I would love a sweep. How big of a series will this weekend feel if the Reds dominate the Pirates and feed off this momentum they've established and take that into the Cubs this weekend?
Yeah, Nick Kirby, I think, said it on Chatterbox Reds that you don't really go into series expecting to sweep. It's just not how baseball works. Obviously, you'd like to sweep. You think you can sweep against teams like the Rockies and the White Sox and the Pirates because they're so bad. But if you walk away with series wins, again, that's all I'm asking for. I don't care how you do it. I don't care how many runs you score, how ugly it is. Win the series. Because it is. It's stacking series wins. That's what you're trying to do here. Doesn't matter how you do it. I don't care. Just do it. And if you can sweep the Pirates, then yeah, you start to make up for those woeful series losses to the Nationals and the Marlins and the White Sox. Very slowly you start to get those games back. Would I have liked them to take advantage of terrible teams when they play them? Yeah, I would. But if you can make up those losses with wins elsewhere, like this series against the Pirates, then we'll take it. That's all. So again, I'm cautiously optimistic that they're going to take care of business in this series. I don't think that this is going to change my opinion on anything because they have to go through a gauntlet of a schedule. If they can start beating the Brewers, then we'll have different conversations. If we can beat the Cubs, we'll have different conversations. If we can start getting those games back in the division, we can start having different conversations. But as for right now in the Cincinnati Reds, nothing's changed in my mind. There's still too much work to be done this year than I think is realistically possible. But, of course, I'm wrong, and I could be wrong, and I've been wrong in the past. So I would love to be wrong about this.
You know why it's good to be you?
Why?
Because when someone that's not you is wrong, Elliot's there to let you know you're wrong. You don't have an Elliot to let you know that you're wrong. That's why it's good to be you.
I'm wrong all the time.
Oh, well,
you don't think so?
I never do.
I know you don't.
I like to lift you up.
You did. You do lift me up.
Maybe not at the beginning. We had a little.
I think Jacob very loudly states that I'm wrong.
Quite often.
I think Jacob says I'm wrong a lot.
Yeah. By the way, you should not be intimidated by any one of us, but the guy that sits here, he has no problem letting you know that you're wrong. I hope he treats you nicer than he treats us sometimes. But you came prepared with stats today. He loves stats. So she may be the one to combat him with stats. Like, we can have a stat off.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Happy to meet him.
Yeah. Jacob returns tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, we'll step away for a few moments. We'll close out the radio side of this when we come back. More Off the Bench next. So we were just talking during the break. Can you believe that, Casey, can you believe this FC Cincinnati? Can you believe that they screwed up the Zach Brown concert this past Friday night? Unbelievable stuff. Elliot, how about FC Cincinnati? They can't even put on a concert.
Yeah, I wish they were able to Saturday. I wish. Listen, I wish
the
that
team wasn't there.
I wish that FC Cincinnati could let me enjoy Zach Brown for one Friday night. I wish that was a possible option, but they said no. The rain was too much. The rain was too much. A sensible thing to do would have started the concert at 6, which is the time that the doors opened. So you start the thing at 6 o'clock, and then they're done by 7:30, and then the storm comes in at like 9:30. So that's what I would have done if I was in charge. But obviously, higher ups.
You know what?
They're in charge.
It's really on you, Elliot. I mean, you're the meteorologist that just up and left and retired that everyone trusted and loved. I mean, everyone knows that they tune in to Elliot Rearing for their weather reports.
It's true.
And TQL didn't have that.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. They didn't have an update until 5 o'clock or 4:35, whatever that was. About an hour until people were leaving to go to the old TQL stadium. So good on them. Very timely of them.
Yeah. Yep. I forgot about that you were trying to go to that concert.
And I don't hold grudges, so I'm not going to remember this for the whole entire year.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Pearl, you can wrong whoever you want here. You'll be forgiven. Don't wrong him.
Well, no. Wait. I think I'm nicer than that. But yeah, when it comes to TQL Stadium, they're dead to me.
Dead to him.
Dead.
He says as far as that goes. Reds, Pirates, they get that series underway coming up later on tonight. And for the second straight Pirates series, by the way, no Paul Skeens. They avoid Paul Skeens for the second straight Pirates series. Now, I will say, as bad as things seem in Cincinnati, because we've already done the talk of, we know Elly will not extend with the Reds. We know he's a future Dodger or whatever, very rich team decides to pull him away from Cincinnati. At least we have not done the whole we should trade him now conversation.
I think we did that last week.
Oh, what?
The trade him now thing.
Well,
to trade Elly?
So those two, when you were gone, they alluded to. They didn't say it out loud, but they
wouldn't say it.
When they ended the season, he definitely alluded to possibly trading everybody, including.
That was my off day.
I said if it gets horrible this season, and it's very evident that the Reds aren't able to capitalize during this stretch while you have Elly De La Cruz, that stretch will come up in 2029, 2028. Yep. Then yeah, you have to make sure you get something in return, and I'm sure the king of trades, Nick Kroll, will be right on that when the time has come. But you need to. Our whole point was you needed to take advantage of this time while you have Elly, because if you don't, what are we doing here? That's all.
No, and that's a fair conversation to have if the season starts to unravel. Because if it unravels this season, what makes you think that it won't unravel next season? Because we watched it unravel last season and the season before that and the season before that. We've seen this movie. We know how it ends. It always ends the same. But now the Reds are taking us on a little different turn. Maybe there's a slight change to how this movie ends. The reason I bring this up is because media in Pittsburgh, fans in Pittsburgh, there's a lot of talk. There was already a graphic floating around over the weekend of Paul Skeens already in a Yankees jersey right now. And then there's been some. ESPN's Jeff Passan said right now the Pirates have continued. The Reds at least are willing to semi-invest into the roster. We just hate how they do it. The Pirates are a different story. They don't invest into it at all.
Correct.
They don't even try. So there is already talks and already national media members, and I think that this will be deemed like Pittsburgh media is getting pissed, saying that they're already mad at the narrative and the agenda of national media trying to force Paul Skeens out of Pittsburgh. And I can see why as local Pittsburgh media you would have a problem with that, but I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'd be angry if the national media was starting that with Elly. I do think the Reds are trying. I do think there's talent on this roster. That Pirates roster is horrible. Hopefully the Reds do take at least 2 or 3 against that horrible Pirates roster this week. But the point is, maybe it is an agenda. National media does want Paul Skeens out of Pittsburgh. It's a waste. It's one of the biggest talents in baseball that's wasted. I don't think we feel like at times the Reds are wasting Elly. I don't think around baseball that they feel like the Reds are wasting Elly at this point. I think we can all agree the Pirates are wasting Paul Skeens. And he's only made just over 30 starts or whatever it is. Like he's still so obviously early into his career. But already talks of the Pirates just need to find a way to maximize the return that they can get for a Paul Skeens. Imagine what the return would be if they did decide to move on from. The Pirates are a lost cause at this point. But already seeing reports out there that the Pirates need to move on from Paul Skeens. And the Yankees seem to be a big-time suitor for that.
Well, I mean, no disrespect to the Pirates, the radio personalities or whoever's out there, saying, there's an agenda. There is an agenda. I mean, obviously there's an agenda. The Pirates are one of the world's worst franchises, and they're housing one of the best MLB talents. They've done not one single thing to help that roster since Paul Skeens made his debut last year. So he went 8 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, struck out 9 yesterday, and they lost, 1-0. So I have no issues with the agenda pushed by national baseball people saying that the Pirates should get rid of him, should trade him. Hopefully he goes to a team that's worth a damn, because they're not. They're not worth a damn. I like to think that the Reds are worth a damn, but I mean I'd be lying if I said I don't think that we're going to waste Elly and Hunter Green. Hunter Green has had those same stat lines. Those 8 innings, 9 strikeouts, allowing 2 hits and still losing games. Happened this year. So I'm
opening day.
Yeah, I think that all this stuff, when it comes to we want superstars in the right places, that's in every sport, that's in every league, that's on SportsCenter, it's on First Take, it's on everywhere, where guys are just trying to have a reason to talk about them, and it's harder to talk about a superstar when they're playing in a town like Pittsburgh than it is when you're playing in Los Angeles. That's just how it's always worked. So I'm not mad at the Pittsburgh Pirates fans and broadcasters for getting mad at that accusation. I'm not mad at the media for saying that they would be wasting him, because Major League Baseball has a serious issue when it comes to competitiveness, spending at least. The Dodgers can pay $900 trillion, and you still have the Marlins and the Reds and the Pirates still not spending a thing. Up until I think it was last year or 2 years ago, Ken Griffey Jr. was still one of our highest paid players. So I'm not gonna get mad at anybody for calling out an organization that actively doesn't try to compete.
Again, year in and year out, the Pirates, every time it seems like they're starting to accrue some talent in their system, to the Reds credit, the Reds do accrue talent that comes up through their system, and they do call them up, and they do have semi-success with them. It's not the success we want. We want this team to be competing for World Series, not, oh man, maybe we'll be 500 this year. But the bottom line is the Reds are at least getting something out of their talent. The Pirates don't get anything out of it at all. In fact, the Pirates are already one of 3 teams who have fired their managers before we even get to a full 2 months into the season. Obviously, Derek Shelton, the former manager for the Pirates, let go. Bud Black for the Rockies let go. And then the big news recently, Brandon Hyde, the manager for the Baltimore Orioles. What an underwhelming season for them. That was their win total was like something crazy. It was high.
Tough.
And he's gone. But yeah, so the Pirates, one of those teams that lose their manager. ESPN's Jeff Passan comes out and says that the Pirates, the best move could potentially be trading generational talent Paul Skeens away, with multiple teams expected to inquire about the electric right-hander at the deadline. Yes, at the trade deadline, which we're almost to trade deadline season.
Yeah, almost.
Luckily, we're not there yet. But yeah, that would be why. By the way, I give that 0.0% chance of that happening. But should it happen? I mean, why? Trade them away, get a bunch of prospects, they become good, then you trade them away again too. It's just that never-ending cycle.
The prospect game is fun for for teams who are able to capitalize on it.
Yep.
It's less so when you're the Reds or the Pirates.
All right, well, that does wrap it up for us on the radio side. We will continue for a little bit on Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. Continue to give the show a like, please, for those who are watching and hanging out on the stream. Like, please. All right, that wraps it up for us on radio. Until tomorrow, Jacob comes back. The Hall of Famer Marty Brenneman going to join us. We'll talk Pete Rose, Reds, baseball, and more. Excited about that. And until tomorrow, this has been Off the Bench. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube and 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. All right, so the radio side's done. Now it's just hanging out on the stream. Pearl, how we doing? How we feeling?
I feel good. I think
Day
I
number
can-
1 for intern Pearl.
I think it's good.
So
We're show in. We've had it was Jimmy last? Was Jimmy the last?
That was
intern on the
Jimmy's
show?
seat. Yep.
Jimmy was last.
And then Lindsay was before Jimmy.
Yep,
And then
Lindsay.
Jacob was before them. And then I was before. No, Jacob was technically before me, I think, actually. Same
he
day,
was
maybe?
here a day before you.
Yeah, so that's wild.
you want to know what the intern test is going to be? And
Sure.
we'll wait so you're comfortable. It's reading the lineup.
Yeah,
Giving the lineup, because there's no way, and shout out to Jimmy. I think he knows that we said it wasn't good when he did the lineups. We need you to read the lineup, not today because you're getting
Okay.
comfortable, but yes, you have to read the Reds lineup because woofa. That was my favorite Jimmy's moments right there.
We try to get Jimmy to get excited on the show, and already, Pearl, you're very excited and engaged on the show. That's what we want. Poor Jimmy, he would come on here and he would read the lineup, and I said, Jimmy, you got to give it some excitement. You got to give it some get some gumption. And he's like, I don't know, and then he just read it the same way every time. But that's the big litmus test. Here's some
I
other
got excitement.
Here's some other litmus tests. The chat has 2 questions. One question we bring up a lot. I asked it to Marty Brenneman last year. It's one of my favorite questions I've asked him. Would you have saved Jack if you were Rose from the Titanic on the piece of wood out in the water? That's the question people want to know. Was there enough room on the wood? Is basically what we're asking.
Did you watch the
Okay.
Titanic?
Have you seen the Titanic?
Let me preface and say I haven't.
Oh no!
You
But-
aged yourself.
But I know, like, of it.
You know what we're talking about,
Yes,
right?
I do.
She lets him die. She
Yeah.
sits on the wood
I
all
think
comfortable.
that's messed up. Why
Yeah.
would you not save? Yeah,
okay.
I would have saved Jack.
All right.
So you don't look at that as like chivalry, like he was like making sure
No,
that she
that's
lived.
messed up. There's
Yeah.
enough room. Scoot over.
Okay, all
So
right.
you're saying you would have let Jack on the door?
Yeah.
You would have tried to save him too?
Oh, for sure.
You should have tried to save Jack. Next question. This is one for Kinner. This is obviously a chat had to
I
ask
thought this
one.
was for Pearl. Now I'm all nervous.
Well, no, it's for Pearl. It's about Kinner.
Okay.
Joey Votto. Are you familiar with Joey Votto?
Of course.
One
yeah.
of our so Joey Votto, obviously we all know and love in this town. There's one man in this room who I won't name hates Joey Votto. He hates him.
What?
And basically the take from Kinner was Joey Votto was too busy making TikToks for the Reds to be good. Do you agree with that
My
statement or
God,
no?
dude, Gumby couldn't stretch that far. But Jesus.
I don't agree with that.
Good. That's good.
I really don't.
That's
He
fine.
was just tapping it. He was discovering social media.
That's right. That's the right answer. Kinner also said Joey Votto, I believe, should have protested out on second base because the Reds weren't making trades to improve the roster.
Man.
That's what you said, not
So-
me. You said it.
No,
These
when
were
I s-
your words.
So, no, and by the way,
Word for
we
word.
see
Word for
examples
word.
of
I
this.
haven't exaggerated this at all.
Example of this all the time of face of the franchise, has a lot of power. We saw Joe Burrow, Super Bowl. He went press row, and he put the pressure on the front office. Get Jamar Chase signed. Get T. Higgins signed.
Yeah.
Get Gesicki signed. Joe Burrow is a failure, though, because they won't, take care of Hendrickson. But, Joe Burrow's a failure. But, no, we saw that's what the face of a franchise said. I loved what Burrow did. I thought that was cool as hell. I was like, that's what leaders do. You go and you put the pressure on your front office to make sure that you are putting talent around you. I felt Joey Votto was just content. They rebuilt. They started 3 rebuilds during his time in Cincinnati, and he was as content with the third one as he was with the first one. That was my big criticism and complaint. He has power. He has a voice. We've seen when an athlete, a face of a franchise, has a voice and they implement that voice, it does put the pressure on the franchise. Does it mean that they'll necessarily always do what he says? No. But at least as a fan, I feel like he wanted what I wanted, which was more talent, that he wants what I want, which is them to do things to help them win. And I just felt, and I'm not yelling at you, I promise. I'm yelling at my guy. He got me all fired up. He made fun of my tiny TV, my curly hair,
I
my Joey
appreciate
Votto
the
take.
opinions.
Let me tell you about my
I'll
draft.
listen.
You want to hear about my draft
Yeah,
take? I'll tell you about my
do the
draft
draft
take.
take. Do the
Let's
draft
just,
take.
baptism by fire over here.
Let's
But that was my Joey Votto take.
No,
Yeah.
I like the backstory. I appreciate the opinion.
His
I appreciate. Wow,
the
that is
opinion.
the. I appreciate. Yeah, that's very.
No, everybody
progressive,
has their
Pearl.
own opinions.
his NFL draft take is that the good teams should get
Jesus
the first
criminy.
overall pick, and the bad team should just still get the worst picks, even though that completely eliminates the point of the draft.
You were really good at this.
I do like how I exaggerate a little bit. That's okay.
we'll save the draft one for later.
That's okay. We're not getting mad today. It's.
Oh, I'm not mad.
I'm surprised you didn't have a take. You didn't stop me during headlines because I didn't bring this up.
Oh, my girl Caitlin.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you would have had something to say about that 40-point win over the Chicago.
Angel Reese,
I'm
big
gonna forget
crybaby.
that.
You know,
Chicago
can't take a foul. That was not a flagrant foul, by the way.
That's the most common foul in basketball.
Yeah.
And Caitlin explained it, I think, after the game. It's like, that's what you do. You send a bad free throw shooter to the line when they can't. It's called hack-a-shack. In fact, Shaquille O'Neal.
Actually, I would have just let her try to make the layup. She would have missed it.
It was very funny. So she missed. Angel Reese missed the technical free throw, and I think the whole entire arena erupted in applause. But it was, and apparently now the Indiana Fever are investigating something, some sort of attack on Angel.
Fans were yelling inappropriate stuff towards Angel Reese, which obviously they're gonna make that they have to go and take care of that and look into that, of course. But it's always something. Every time those two get together, it is always something. But then in the post game, you ask Angel about it, nothing. She has nothing to say about it. Like we're making something out of nothing. You're the one that went and tried to go punch your meal ticket. You tried to go punch the face of the league that's going to put you in position to make more money coming up in the next collective bargaining agreement. And now you want to punch her because she knocked you to the ground because they didn't show it. The clip right before, Aaliyah Boston right there with the ball, and Angel Reese goes and shoves her to get the old rebound. So girl Caitlin Clark, good teammate that she is. Not making TikToks on second base. She's right there ready to knock out Angel Reese for punching her teammate down to the floor. So, Team Caitlin.
The Indiana Fever won 93-58 in the season opener.
Triple-double.
93-58. Caitlin Clark, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 20 points.
Not bad. Not bad. You Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark?
Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
For sure.
There
I
it
don't
is.
even have to think about that.
Yeah.
There we go.
There it is.
Casey, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark.
I mean, it's Caitlin Clark.
All right. Jacob?
He's Caitlin Clark. I think he's got season.
He's all things Indiana.
I think he's got season tickets for the Fever. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he was looking at getting those tickets after you talked about that one thing on the radio. I'm not going to spoil anything, but that would be really cool. Getting season tickets and watching Caitlin Clark.
I want a jersey though. I do want a jersey of Caitlin Clark.
I saw Dave Portnoy was there.
He was
full
there.
Fever gear, like
He
not
was
just
there.
the jersey. And he goes like no T-shirt of the jersey
Yeah.
too. He goes all in with that. He had the shorts too, full Fever.
Did you see the bet he won?
Yeah, he won a massive
He
bet.
won like $350,000.
So you bet a triple double.
on Caitlin Clark triple double. So that's kind of wild.
They don't have sponsorship problems on that show, so
No.
they.
Did you watch any of the PGA Championship at all?
No, I did not.
You didn't watch it all?
It was on my TV, but as you've seen, like I think it was on. I couldn't tell.
I thought
Tiny
it was
TV.
a pretty good tournament. Scotty Scheffler's he's so good. I mean, it's ridiculous how good that guy is at golf.
And he's becoming like a household name even for non-golf fans because like that name is he wins everything now, and that's a good thing. Like it's a big name in golf finally.
I think the stat I saw was since either 2022 or 2023, he has the same amount of missed cuts as he does majors, which is 3.
It's a solid number
Wild.
on both sides.
It's absolutely wild. Outside of that, anything else, Kenner?
I'm now a Pacers fan. I wonder if Kenner knows why.
Why are you a Pacer fan?
Oh, the Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Brunson.
Oh, here we go. Hold on real quick.
Yeah.
Are you a wrestling fan?
No.
Oh, Casey.
Oh, that's a shame.
Sorry.
I thought you two were going to be tag team champions for a second.
I
but-
mean, I'm open to
unfortunately.
being educated about it.
Educator.
Well, there is some serious beef and drama going on in WWE. Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson, they got in the ring. And who's in the corner for Tyrese Halliburton? My guy, Logan Paul. Shows the right
Can
side.
you say your
That's
guy?
your guy?
That's my guy.
That's a tough.
That's my guy.
I don't know wrestling, but I wouldn't be claiming that.
Yeah, I wouldn't take Logan Paul as your guy.
Oh, he's
Hey,
for sure.
she
my
went
guy.
from, what's your opinion? And everyone has an opinion too. That's your guy? Like,
That's a tough guy to have. That's a tough guy to have.
I mean, what can I say? I love John Cena. I like Gunther. I just love Logan Paul too. I mean, what can I say?
I love Gunter.
most people just say Gunther, but he's Gunter.
Gunther.
Gunter.
Is it not pronounced Gunter, or are you just doing that?
I'm just doing that.
That's hilarious.
His passion.
Yeah.
Gunter
That's right.
against Logan Paul.
Yeah. So Pacers
one
fan
day.
now.
Yeah.
Tyrese Halliburton.
For the 7th straight year, there'll be a new champion, no repeat champions. So you had the 2000s era was the dynasty era. You had the Spurs dynasty and 2 Lakers dynasties. And then the 2010s was the super team era. And now this seems to be the parody era in the 2020. It started in 18 technically, but 7 straight seasons where a new champion will be crowned. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know. We'll talk about that tomorrow more, but I don't know if it's good or bad. But I will say it'll be weird to see Minnesota or OKC in an NBA Finals. We've seen OKC in the finals before, but still. But.
I like new faces. Now, could it be the least viewed finals of all time? You like to bring up ratings. Probably, if it's going to be,
If New York's there, they'll be that should help it. But.
Correct. If it's the Pacers and it's the T-Wolves, it's going to be
tough.
It's going to be a tough viewership finals, I'd imagine. I love it.
You're right. Pacers, T-Wolves. Who would have thought that?
That's wild. I looked up the Worldwide Leaders website. Right now, and the thing that's leading off this website is best fits and trade candidates. Does Trey Hendrickson to the Packers make any sense? So who knows? Maybe the Bengals trade Trey Hendrickson to the Packers.
How about by the way, it does come out this weekend. I was waiting for Jake to be here, and we can bring it up again tomorrow. But it does look like, the Bengals are cheap. The Bengals are cheap. They're not being cheap. They're actually willing to give him a short deal, and they're willing to give him $28 million. That's not cheap.
Yeah.
That's just him being a pain in the ass and wanting 4 years and not being realistic. Like, if I don't know.
You know where I stand on this.
We're on the same.
I'm on your boat. I think this whole stuff is nonsense. You sign a contract and you play on it. I mean, that's how I think of it.
To me, it was never about money. It's about the structure and long-term security, and that's just something Bengals are not willing to do. They're just not going to do it.
And do your homework before, as a free agent, you pick to go to a Bengals team that they're stubborn when it comes to this stuff. I'm not advocating for no one to want to go to Cincinnati. I'm just saying I do feel like at a certain point, if you're a free agent and you choose to go to Cincinnati and it's time to give you an extension and you don't get that extension, do your homework. You knew that was going to be the case. You knew that they're not going to be the organization that's going – they'll take care of you if you're their guy. They draft you. You're their guy. They're going to find a way to take care of you in some regards. But, yeah, we've talked about the Hendrickson thing ad nauseum. When it comes to this, but at the end of the day, I saw the example he gave. If I only had 8 sacks in a season, they'd come to me and ask me to take less money. Why is that right? But I'm asking for more money. Well, because contractually they're allowed to ask you to take less money because you agreed to that too. Technically, contractually, they're allowed to ask you to take less money for underperforming, like they did to Moss, like they did to Geno Stone, because Geno Stone and Moss in their contracts did not say that you couldn't do it. So technically, the Bengals they're exercising their contractual rights to be able to do that. So Trey Hendrickson, on the other hand, he is not exercising contractual rights by not showing up to practice and by sitting out games and by demanding that he gets paid more. So there is a difference. And I'm pissed because, yes, I am a Bengals fan now, but he's making me, ad nauseum, defend that front office. They're actually executing their rights based on the contract that these players have signed, so they're not technically doing anything wrong.
What's funny about you bringing up him having 8 sack season and asking for a pay cut. He got a raise. He got an extension off of an 8 sack season.
Yeah.
After the previous couple seasons.
That's a good point. Yeah.
After the last couple of the seasons before that, he was 13 and 15 sack guy. And then that year he got 8.5 or something like that. He got a extra year and some. He got more money. Put him in the top 10 range. And that's probably what the Bengals are offering him right now. Another year, put him in that top 8 discussion, right? And pay wise, and he's just not willing to do it. And it's unfortunate.
All right, well, that wraps it up for us. Pearl, thank you. Did a great job. I know you're back with us tomorrow, right?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Jake will be back tomorrow. We'll have Marty Brenneman on tomorrow, but that does wrap it up. As we wrap this up, please give the show a thumbs up. Give it a like on the way out. We appreciate you. But until tomorrow, this has been Off the Bench, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube.